What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
What will I get if I comply with your request?
Since I was unable to say no, I tried to negotiate for better terms instead. I made the decision to negotiate as much as I could, even though it might be foolish with Ghee.
You know, you're the one who threw off the world's balance that I've been maintaining. What are your thoughts about that?
I apologize.
I was totally defeated in a matter of seconds. It is true that I was the individual who took the majority of Ghee's forces, even if my goal was merely to restore the balance. Simply told, it was a mistake to enlist Testarossa and the others on my side. There was still a chance that Ghee may view me as an enemy if I decline his request. There was no getting out of it. I finally gave up and accepted Ghee's offer. A knock on the door was heard as Ghee was going back to his seat. Shuna entered as the door opened. Tension melted away as the aroma of tea filled the room. With a piece of cake on the tray, we chose to take a break. This was most certainly not a delay in dealing with the issue, since I realized there was no way out at this point. In the next room, where tea was also ready, the two secretaries and the two maids gathered. They moved more readily than I anticipated, although I had anticipated some reluctance. I sipped the meticulously brewed tea Shuna had prepared. It had a mild flavor. The one Testarossa made was perfect and complete. However, this one was both delicious and soothing.
Isn't this great?
I was happy to learn that Ghee enjoyed the meal a lot.
Oh my, that's right. This cake has layers of depth in addition to being tasty. The sweet and bitter flavors blend beautifully together, giving off a lovely mellow scent.
I was glad to see that Velzard-san also seemed to like it.
In addition, I like the way that this space is decorated.
Ghee surprised me by complimenting me. I thought he was a dictator who didn't care about wabi-sabi. I had to stop and think about how I shouldn't make assumptions about other people. I suppose Oda Nobunaga has this kind of taste as well. It appears that he enjoyed spending time in tea rooms where he was free from status-related concerns. He may have treasured this time as a chance to think, that was merely a ruse I came up with, but it looks like I was right to bring Ghee here. I spoke up to get his next response since I was a little relieved.
Oh, is that true? I'm happy you think so. I haven't shown anyone else yet, except for you. This is our finest parlor, and I only show it to guests I want to impress.
Yeah? Are you attempting to win my favor?
I am, yes. One cannot become a demon lord without that. I would have lived contentedly behind the scenes from the start if I could only swallow my pride.
An initial jab. Before Ghee made his request, I would show him that I wouldn't do whatever he wanted. I needed to adjust how I was going to respond to Ghee depending on his reaction. Ghee, though, dismissed my response as being extreme.
Aren't you attempting to learn more about me? You're hilarious.
It wasn't amusing, but I couldn't help but feel like Ghee had me right where he wanted me.
I appreciate that.
Okay, no big deal. Asking for assistance is not pointless to you. I want you to escalate the conflict and exterminate the Empire.
Having stated so, Ghee made an elegant motion as he sipped his tea. He appeared impressive, almost like a king. He is a demon lord, thus I suppose he is a king in reality. But Ghee. There, he got right to the point.
That is to say, eliminate all of Rudra's pawns without eliminating Rudra himself. I had a feeling that it was when you hesitated to respond to Benimaru's inquiry.
That's all. The requirements for winning the game are not very clearly laid out. The players were not allowed to engage in direct combat with one another.
The opponent must concede defeat, pass away, or the game must end. Whichever occurs first, is the victory condition, correct?
That's the way things will be, I suppose.
Ghee took another drink of tea while nodding. He said that Ghee and Emperor Rudra of the Empire had been at war for more than 2,000 years. Despite their fighting, there had not been a face-to-face encounter. They used to battle frequently before Milam was born and Veldanava, the Star King Dragon, vanished, but afterward, they started to be wary of one another. This was because their wars had such an impact on the globe that they could no longer take them seriously. It sounded improbable, but when I saw Ghee standing in front of me, I realized it was true. The battle had so persisted up until this point. Ghee has been building up his pawns while maintaining the world in balance. He appears to have been anticipating the slow growth of many long-lived monsters. Nobody, not even in the octagram, was aware of Ghee's genuine motivations. Even Milam was unaware of Ghee and Rudra's game.
Why are you telling me now, then?
It's clear. You are the first to exert such pressure on Rudra.
It goes without saying that Ghee knew the Imperial army had been destroyed. Well, it would be odd if Ghee missed it given how many powerful magic assaults had been launched.
But killing each of them was the right decision. There are no awakened pawns for Rudra.
Ghee was aware of Rudra's motivations after all. Ghee related the exact story to me. Ultimately, Rudra's goal was to awaken the survivors by subjecting them to a horrific experience of defeat. Rudra's fundamental strategy consisted of persuading the subjects, training the army, and then putting them in danger to see who would awaken among the survivors. This was demonstrated by the fact that Veldora had swept away the last Imperial invasion force, some of which were rumored to have turned into sages. Ghee had used a similar approach. Nobody was worth employing as a pawn who hadn't awakened yet. Ghee decided to let the demon lords engage in combat because of this. The game became more favorable as more people become true demon lords via awakening. That was the game's core premise, and it was all a matter of timing. You should place a wager as soon as you determine that you are unquestionably superior to your opponent. The opponent occasionally interfered with this, making it unexpectedly challenging. In this manner, the game had been contested without a winner until now. It was a protracted tale of perseverance with a significant long-term strategy for both Ghee and Rudra. The people in this planet found it annoying, but I suppose it was just something they did to pass the time for each other.
Here too, it was to be anticipated that some of the dozens of survivors would awaken if there were any at all against Veldora.
Rudra, in other words, didn't give a damn about me. I was merely one of Ghee's reliable pawns. Although a little frustrating, this was the situation.
So you want me to fight the Empire now that I have this chance?
I'll let you handle that. I don't have to explain it, but fighting in vain is pointless.
That was the reality, which was both depressing and true. A show of force without a credible threat would just result in more losses and serve no strategic purpose. I voted against sending an army.
Do you know of any opponents within Rudra's warriors that we should be on the lookout for? If so, please inform me.
I'm not sure. My main focus was on how well I could manage my own cards. It doesn't matter how powerful or poor my opponent's hand is if I have the better hand.
It was a haughty remark appropriate for the powerful. He's obviously that kind of a guy, isn't he? When one thinks they have an easy win, he will pull a Yaku Mangan without a care in the world, similar to a mahjong player who doesn't even glance at his opponent's discarded tiles. Well, Masayuki might obtain a tenhou just by chance, so I didn't want to play with him either because they were the same. I was using odd connections because of the game's topic, but let's get to the point anyhow.
We must be clear about the Empire in either case. I'm going to follow my convictions rather than what you want me to do.
We would need to speak with Emperor Rudra since we couldn't put off the issue. It would be better for us to visit Emperor Rudra when the circumstances are favorable.
Are you thinking of going there by yourself, Rimuru-sama?
Benimaru was perplexed, but I was not about to back down.
We are powerless to resist. We can't just leave Yuki and the others alone. We have to stick together and figure out how to make peace on our own terms.
Isn't that risky?
It will be risky either way. For the purpose of argument, suppose someone walks out there and makes peace. Do you really believe that?
Not from me. I would think it was merely a ploy to catch us off guard. They would then attempt to kill me covertly when I was out and about. I wouldn't be able to live a carefree life if that occurred since I'd have to always be on watch. I had to be sure to resolve this issue since I would not permit such a thing to occur.
That's right. And what about the escort?
Naturally, it is you.
At my remarks, Benimaru grinned.
That's fine, then.
His disposition exuded a sense of certainty that he could and would defend me. Indeed, Benimaru was trustworthy. Ghee chuckled in amusement as he watched my conversation with Benimaru.
You're entertaining to watch, but so is your subordinate. He has an odd quality, and I believe he still has a lot of opportunity to evolve.
You know, I guess, my most dependable right-hand man is Benimaru.
Are you sure it wasn't Diablo?
Ah, that guy is tough, but he's a bit of a troublemaker.
I get what you mean.
Ghee seemed to be feeling a lot of sympathy for me. He was even treating me like one of his pals for some reason. I deduced from his response that Ghee was also struggling.
So, I just wanted to be sure of one thing.
What's that?
Rudra can give people ultimate skill, right?
When I asked Ghee this, he looked at me with awe in his eyes.
So, you took note. You're correct. Rudra has a unique talent and can share his strength with others.
I was aware of it.
Are you familiar with the terms of the loaning?
This had major significance. We could narrow the list of key members on the Imperial side if Ghee understood the prerequisites. One can never be too sure, but I was wondering if there were fewer than 10 names on the list.
Don't be concerned. His skill is not unstoppable. He can only lend degraded, restricted power. Regarding the receiver, a person cannot accept the power unless they have awakened. Other conditions may exist, but I don't know enough about them to be concerned.
When I asked Ghee if he thought it was a good idea, he responded quickly. I was now in possession of all the information I required. Or perhaps I wanted to yell at him that he was the only guy who could claim that a holder of an ultimate skill posed no threat. Perhaps Milam was a similar person to Ghee. Such a disparity in emotions could make matters more difficult. When I saw Ghee enjoying the cake that had been given to him, I was furious. When I agreed to his request, he immediately converted the situation into someone else's problem, which infuriated me more than his outlandish look, which contradicted what he had said. Wait a second, we were meant to be discussing something very significant right now. However, it appeared that the private discussion had ended. I pierced my cake with a fork out of frustration. We needed sugar to function mentally. I made the conscious decision to focus on the topic at hand rather than let Ghee divert me. A period of silence. There is no wind. But although his business is finished, Ghee doesn't appear to be going home. Ghee's cup was empty when Shuna skillfully poured a refill into it. To prevent the leftover tea leaves from overbrewing, it appears that she had prepared a second pot for serving.
You excel at what you do. This much can't be done by my idiots.
Many thanks for the compliments.
Benimaru had an anxious expression, but Shuna was outstanding. She handled Ghee without flinching or showing any signs of fear.
Can I send my Misery and Rain to your residence for a little training?
Training?
Right. They need to learn how to create this cake, please.
Although their meals at Walpurgis had been fairly nice, Shuna's stood out from the competition when it came to desserts. After all, she had been putting a lot of effort into creating new dishes to compete with Yoshida-san, and her abilities were improving. I used to think that this was just the usual, but now I see that it was actually quite a luxury. I came to the realization that I had simply been doing anyway I pleased since entering this world. I attempted to prepare good meals, and I tried to replicate the things I enjoyed. There are some recipes that, no matter how skilled or passionate one is, cannot be duplicated without the proper ingredients. Only with the high-grade alcohol produced in our nation was it possible for a great individual like Yoshida-san to successfully recreate this dessert. I should not neglect to convey my appreciation for this. Regardless, what should I tell Ghee? I considered urging him to go buy it, but I reasoned that there was no need to be so frugal. So I made the decision to simply share the recipe we came up with, keeping secret what Yoshida-san had informed me.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the new members of AnimeKouhai supporters: Ma'am Wang Min, Vastolord, Martin Ramos, Marl Barsha, Ralph Ignacio, Chris Nelson, Karen, Mark Charlie Els, Hansel Ortega, Yellow Wally. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.